Hey, what's going on guys? TheBrokenMachine here. Hope you're all doing good today. Welcome to my aim guide for Battlefield 5. Lots of areas to discuss today. Sensitivity, snapping on targets, easier headshots, all of that good stuff. But first, before we begin, if you're not playing on a monitor, make sure you set your TV to game mode. You'll find this in the picture or scene settings. What this essentially does is disable any extra image processing, which can reduce input lag. Input lag, if you don't know, is the delay between the TV or monitor receiving a signal and that being displayed on the screen. The less, the better, and more responsive your aim will feel. If you're on console, I'd also recommend playing over USB. Any Bluetooth interference could affect your aim. Secondly, one of the best things you can do to improve your aim is to become more aware of where the center of your screen is. Knowing this will allow for an easier time following targets and snapping to them. Think of it like this. Good aim is really about being able to keep your target in the center of your screen. The better you know where the center is, the easier it will be. I do recommend getting into the habit of aiming down sight at the start of every game, and after a while, you'll know exactly where the center is without even thinking about it. Now, let's talk about controlling recoil. If you don't know, crouching actually drops your recoil around 30%. Also, going prone will reduce your recoil even further. It may be a good idea to crouch in a gunfight, but going prone is a little risky. You're likely to get easily headshotted. Recoil patterns are not entirely fixed in this game, but they are predictable to some extent. If you check out this over here, you can see how they are very similar, but a little bit different each time. But there is a kind of pattern going on. It's a good idea to head over to test range, try countering your weapon as best as you can, and see where your weaknesses are. Don't recommend trying to control for the entire magazine. If you haven't dropped your opponents by 10 bullets, readjust and try again. Highly recommend switching to single fire for longer range targets, depending on the weapon of course. The difference can be game changing. Now, sensitivity is a massive part of your aim. Recommend you stick with one setting and do not change it. Many new players make the mistake of constantly changing their sensitivity. By doing this, you are ruining muscle memory that you've built up. Don't be that player, stick with one sensitivity and only ever change after you get better at the game and realize you actually need to. Also, I'd highly recommend turning on uniform soldier aiming so that all weapons and sights feel the same. Essentially, with this on, if you turn 90 degrees right with a sniper scope, then do the same with a pistol, both will feel the same in terms of sensitivity. Check out my settings guide for more on that. If you're on console, turn off vibration. No need for that, and it will have an effect on your aim. Next, constantly be asking yourself why and where you're aiming at. Why are you aiming at the floor? What if someone is inside? Why the ceiling? There won't be anyone there. What is the point? Aiming where enemies could come from is a much better strategy than staring at the floor. This is often referred to as centering. Centering is where you aim where your opponents could be, so as soon as they pop up, you have the advantage. Check out how I move around the map here, looking for enemies in each corner. Simple but incredibly effective. Now take a note of my streaks that you've seen on my channel. Next time you watch them, you should be able to see me doing this. If you can't see it, go back and listen to what I said again. Obviously you can't center all the time, but it's definitely a good habit to get into. Now, aiming down sight around a corner or waiting for a target is a wise move. Just make sure you're not aiming too close to an object, otherwise it may block your shots. Centering is also often referred to as placing your target on your opponents before you shoot. Definitely recommend getting into the habit of doing this. Obviously, as your skill increases, you won't need to do this as much, but it is a good thing to start off with. Here is an easy task to help improve your centering. Fire up practice range, head over here and work on your centering with the dummy targets here. You'll soon improve your snapping on targets here. It is good to be snappy here and there, but do try this. Try to drift your aim. Hard to explain, but I find personally, not being so snappy and allowing my aim to drift to a target tends to work out much better. It's hard to explain this one, and I'm sure you all want to be better at snapping to your targets, but do try and kind of drift the aim. Don't be too snappy. I often find if I am really snappy, I often over aim or under aim, whereas if I just kind of drift to the target, it seems to work out better. But anyway, pre-aiming can definitely give you a massive advantage. Take a common situation like this. Pre-aim, center, and you're ready to go. Don't pre-aim and you have to rely on reactions. Never a good idea. The idea of centering essentially is to get you better at preparing for a battle and thinking more about where your next opponents could be. You see, aiming isn't just about your control with the mouse or controller, it's about the mental game, especially when it comes to tracking your targets. You need to work on knowing the mechanics of the game so you can interpret the situation coming next. In other words, you can predict where your opponent will move. In every game you play, you want to be taking note of how players move, how quick they go from crouch to standing, how they slide, how fast they travel, basically everything about the way they can move in game. The goal is to use that information and visualize their movement in advance. Now if you can do that every single game, eventually you'll just know how players move and won't even think about it, and tracking will become easy for you. For me, I don't really think about it anymore. I'm always looking to tidy up my aim, of course, but movement, player movement, this isn't something that I really think too much about anymore. Now, being able to track targets is a massive part of good aim, but the real key is visualization. If you know what could happen next, you'll be more prepared and likely to win the battle. You know, we could sit here and analyze tons of situations over and over. It may help some, but the reality is, just think simple. If you see an enemy running towards a building, they're probably going to try and get inside. So be prepared for that movement. Easy. Also, polishing up your aim, I do recommend standing still for medium to longer range targets. You do get an accuracy bonus. When it comes to headshots, maybe aim for the neck. If you aim too high on the head, you could easily miss. But if you aim for the neck, if you're aiming a little bit too low, you'll probably get a body shot, or you might even get the headshot. So do try to stick with the neck for now until you get a little better at the game. Also, your crosshair color may have an impact on your aim overall. Do recommend trying different colors. A nice bright green is fairly easy to track. Even a nice pink or purple is really good. Some people prefer something subtle, maybe a dark red, a black, or even the default white. See what works for you, and do try plenty. You might not realize just how much a decent crosshair color can affect your aim, but it really does. Also, this may sound stupid, but do make sure you're actually looking through the iron sights or reticle of your weapon. Sounds stupid, I know, but seriously, spend a whole game actually looking through every time you aim at an enemy. You'll notice a difference straight away. Sometimes, you know, we do go on autopilot and we forget these things. Also, a great tip when it comes to the mental game, just aim. Don't think about it, just aim. See a target, just aim. Thinking about it often gets in the way. Of course, you want to analyze your aim up in that head of yours, but not too much. You don't need to all the time. Just aim. Lastly, headshots are incredibly valuable in BF5. Do recommend going for them if you can. Not always, of course. Do remember, it's about dropping your opponent as fast as you can. If aiming to the head is going to take you longer, or you've got to aim quite far on the screen than just going for body shots, then don't. But if you can line up for the head, do it. So if it's going to take you half a second to go from the ground to the head, whereas it's only going to take, I don't know, 100 milliseconds to just aim for the body and drop them instantly, just go for the body. Think of it like that. Before we go, there are various settings on console that will drastically improve your aim. Highly recommend checking out my settings guide up in the corner there for those. Plenty of options for PC too. Make sure you turn off vertical sync in your settings if you are on PC. Trust me, you need to. Lots more to discuss on this topic, of course, but this I feel is good for now. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Drop a like and share if you did. More tutorials on the channel, of course. I appreciate your support. Click that join button if you'd like to support my channel even further. Take it easy, guys. Catch you later.